the Good Life podcast, you guys. We are super excited. We are the co-host of the Good Life podcast. It's a new podcast coming straight from one of our favorite platforms, Word of Life Christian Church, where we're both members, leaders, parishioners. But this is not a churchy situation, okay? So we are going to get into good topics, good conversation. So I'm going to toss it over to my co-host. I kind of like saying that.
All right. Well, I'll take it, Ebony. And again, my name is Adrian Walker. And as Ebony mentioned, I have the fortune of being a proud member at Word of Life Christian Church, a church where we believe that the word is alive and what?
Lives are changed.
All right. We'll take it. But yeah, we're just honestly excited about the launching of this podcast, but really excited about our guest that we have with us today. That's none other than our very own senior pastor, George Wilkinson.
Wait, we gotta call the whole name.
Oh, yeah.
You may not know this, okay?
Yeah.
My pastor has 17 middle names, okay? I already know I'm getting in trouble, but Pastor, let me make sure I got them all right, okay?
Come on.
Welcome to everybody's favorite game show. What is Pastor G's full name anyway? Join our contestants as they try to answer that question.
Come on.
George Samuel Scott Wilkinson.
David Scott Wilkinson.
It's George. Listen, okay, we're just gonna bring him on to let us know how many middle names he has.
Welcome, Pastor.
Good evening. It's great to be with you, and obviously, I gotta train Ebony a little better than what I have in the past. She's been with me for all these years and don't know my names, and so I'm somewhat disappointed. Adrian, I'm very proud of you. Very proud. George David Samuel Scott. George David Samuel Scott. I it's a long story behind that, but when you have 5 sisters and a slew of brothers, my father's brothers had all girls, and I was the only one to carry on the Wilkinson name. I had 5 sisters, and here comes George, and so everybody wanted his, their name to be associated with George Wilkinson. So that's how that happened.
See, we're learning new stuff. Like 20 seconds in, I never knew that this was a legacy thing. And I apologize.
And Ebony, if you knew, it wouldn't be that you would have remembered either.
I will have remembered. So we want to get straight into, there's so much that we could cover, but more importantly, we're celebrating our church anniversary, which is, how old are we? We are almost
there. We getting there.
We're 14 years old.
Oh yeah.
So with that being said, the goal with our podcast today is we want to learn more about the person, the vision, like just some behind the scenes stuff. We want funny stories that you never told anybody. We want to know if you've almost tripped up a flight of stairs. I want to know all the funny stuff and just behind the scenes, because I feel like we don't always get, it's easy to see your pastor on Sundays and teaching and preaching, but truthfully, some people don't even know how much of a jokester you are, right? Or how much of a comedian.
That is true. I am a jokester, and I love life and love laughing, and so the only way to laugh is to joke. The only is to have your fun. Go ahead.
Pastor, somebody said you may be an athlete too, but I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Don't go there, Adrian. Don't go there. But you can confirm it because you've been a recipient of losing at horse to me. So you can confirm, that loss. And I know you don't want to tell the world about that, but hey, look, I was 50-1 when I was, at Word of Life doing my thing with the horse game. 50-1. and that one was when I had my Sunday best on, and so hey, it's like that sometimes. But you were a proud recipient of one of those wins that I got. So there's nothing wrong with taking that L. It's okay.
Oh, no. Come on! You better talk about taking L's.
Yeah.
Who brushed you up and prepped you for this podcast?
I don't know. I just being me. Oh my God.
So we do want to talk about because a lot of us don't know where you came from. Like, did you play sports? Were you actually any good? Like, did you go? No pun intended. Well, people don't even know, even that competitive nature or that, like, where did that come from?
It actually came from my mother. My father died when I was 10, and my mother, she brainwashed me to love the University of Michigan. We lived in Ann Arbor for some time. I went to all the games, and seriously, I just, from day one, always loved to win. My mother just instilled, you can be who you want to be, you can do what you need to do, but you always strive to win. And so if we're playing anything, don't ever let me fool you by saying, oh, I don't care if I win, because I want to win, and I don't care what age, who I'm playing against. I really love competition and love winning, and that that drove me to play basketball. Throughout the years, I played at the great Flint Central High School and went on to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on a basketball scholarship, and played 4 years there, captained my last 2. But I didn't go because I was great. I want to be clear about that. I went because of the grace of God. The grace of God allowed me to be a part of a package deal with someone, my best friend, who was great. But because God's grace allowed me to go and to show my skills when I got there, I ended up being captain my last 2 years and had a good, successful career. My claim to fame is I took 2 charges against Patrick Ewing.
Okay. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I got a few things played in the NCAA. I said I was about to exaggerate a little bit. I went and was on the bench at the NCAA tournament game. And I didn't play, but I was a part of the team, that first SWAC team to go to the NCAA tournament and play. In 1981, the Southern University Jaguars.
No, that's like that. I know. I didn't. Did you know that, Adrian?
I knew a little bit, but I didn't know the depth of that experience, to be honest.
Let me find out you done shared sweat with who?
I can name some names now. Played against Joe Dumars, Patrick Ewing. Antoine Carr, some pretty big names, but I'm not a name dropper. So I just had to share that one because I did have, a good game against Georgetown when we played them. We played them twice and I played well both games.
Well, that's what's up, Pastor.
Listen, you said you don't have to drop names because my name is George. To God be the glory.
Yeah. So it was a great experience, but didn't have the skills to do anything else but graduate and return to the great city of Flint. And so the rest is history. Go ahead.
Can I ask you about that a little bit? Because I think that's what, a number of us deal with as it relates to our hometown. But again, us being here in Flint, what went into your thought process? Again, you grew up here, you went to Southern, you got exposed to a whole different way of life. You graduated from there. And again, I know you've had a chance to travel all over the world. What brought you back home to Flint?
Seriously, I came back home to Flint because, one, I didn't plan on staying in Flint. Seriously, I came back and wanted to go to school and get my Juris Doctorate and my MBA. And the fact of the matter is, I was so smart that I didn't do good enough on the GMAT and the LSAT, and I had to get a job here in the Flint area. And I started off as with a company called Complete Auto Transit, which was a subsidiary of Ryder, and was a dock supervisor. And 4 months later, God promoted me to be part of 17 individuals who interviewed for a job at General Motors. It was 4 positions. All of them was coming from Harvard, Yale, Stanford. Here's George Wilkinson from Little Southern University. And I was one of 4 that was selected to be a part of, to start working at General Motors. So, and then from there, my career just took off, and was blessed to do a lot of things at General Motors.
So you have an international ministry, meaning you've lived in other countries. So tell us what that was like, even in living in the other countries, but also taking all of that culture and bringing that back and just trying to create more diverse places. Because one thing that we do know about you is diversity is very big for you. So walk us through this international journey you've been on.
Yeah, it was just tremendous. I continued to be promoted at General Motors, and I was what they call an 8th level manager, and over quality assurance and engineering for all vehicle distribution in the area. And I got a call, say, hey, look, we're interested in you interviewing for positions in South America. And I interviewed and was selected to go to Buenos Aires, Argentina. And didn't know anything about Argentina, didn't understand it, and went through, a lot of cultural training and whatever. And Sophia said we could go. That was the most important thing. And so when she said we could go, we took off. Actually, I went there by myself. First, we went on what they call a look-see, and we went and looked at where we would, live and whatever. Came back, got ready to go, and I came first, went first, excuse me. And when I went, I was there for about 3 months, and one of those times, I just probably the second week, I went to the International Baptist Church of Buenos Aires, Argentina, and that's where all of the individuals coming from different nations that spoke English and were there on business will go to church at this facility, at this location, and ended up going. And I thought, Dad, this is going to be great. I can just, we'll go to church here and we'll keep going. And so Sophia came, and we were going to church there. The kids, we would go every Sunday. And about 6 months in, I was asked to become the interim pastor of the church. And so I did that for a while until they identified a permanent pastor. And so it was an awesome experience. But to answer your other portion of your question, is diversity is huge for me. And I learned that in Argentina, because we were one of only a few African-American families there. And yet it was important for me to learn their culture, and important to understand. Coming from the United States, you think that we got it together. We know what we're doing. We are the best at everything. And you find out that there's so much more in other places, and people work hard everywhere. And there's intelligent people across the board doing great things. And you just say, man, God bless everyone with some skills. And you want to tap into those skills and be extremely diverse and sensitive to diversity in terms of everyone that you come into contact with, because they bring something to the table. They bring, their great mind. They bring a different perspective. They bring different thoughts, and that adds to the richness of whatever you're trying to develop.
So Pastor, let me get this right. Like, so you are working not only for GM, but working for GM internationally, and then you took on pastoral duties while abroad, right? Even if you worked at GM, there will be so many of us that will be like, that's enough in itself. But then to take on pastoral duties and then continue to keep that life is something that, again, not everyone can do. But the reason why I ask that is, again, us in our daily lives, like, we find it so difficult in terms of just juggling, maybe just personal life and job. You're doing personal life, career, and then a church. How do you find that balance, but also take time for that mental needed? I mean, it's an interesting question, but I think it's a question that a lot of us think about.
Did you see me squirm in my seat like this and move around?
You started moving like you were under the unction of the Holy Spirit.
Yes, I'm telling you that. Hey, look,
your feet.
I'm gonna tell you something that I tell a lot of people. That one, and I want to be very clear. The reason I've been able to do, besides the grace of God and all of those great things that God has done for me in my life, is because He's blessed me with the absolutely sensational, spectacular, superb helpmate. And this helpmeet Sophia has just been there by my side and supported in ways. So I don't have to worry about a lot of things other people have to worry about. I don't have to be concerned, because everything's going to be the way it should be when we go or do whatever we're supposed to do. So she's the glue. And I just want to be very clear about that. So it makes a lot of other things very easy to navigate and to take care of. And that's the way it's been throughout our relationship. I have always been bivocational. And so when I was a minister, I was ministering in a very significant way and doing a lot of things. And God prepares you for what He has for you. And so because I was doing those things, I learned how to navigate. I learned what was important in certain areas. I learned where to focus. I learned how the greatest thing that God has given me is the skill to delegate. It's the skill to delegate and to say, hey, we need you to do this. Can you do this? Can you do that? And really, I never have really been able to balance things. I think it's a misnomer when people say, it's important to balance. And so when, the most important thing I always say is the master, the marriage, and the ministry. That's what I always say. But sometimes I let the master down and the marriage gets up here and then the ministry takes up here. It's very difficult. And so I have never mastered. I never, been a one that's been precise and excellent at balancing things. But I have had people like the two of you and Danny and JT and all of these great people that God has put around me to allow me to lead in a very significant way. And when I really, when I say I learned the skill of delegating, that's probably one of the most significant things that has allowed me to I learned early that I didn't want to, this sounds bad, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I worked at Genesee Towers as a high school. Now, coming out of high school, I just graduated, and I was a janitor on the night shift, meaning at 11, 12, midnight, and I was cleaning toilets. And I learned right then that this was not for me. I want to work through people instead of them telling me what to do. And I want to be the one who helps direct and guide and lead. And so it was from that moment on that I just asked God to position me for that kind of opportunity. And that's what has transpired. And, we've been somewhat successful. I was asked the other day, how can you do the boards and do this and do that and do that? It's because of the grace of God. Seriously. Yeah. My pastor at the time, Pastor Marvin Jennings, prayed a prayer that I'll never forget. And he said, Lord, let George be able to do the things that others take many hours to do, capsulize it into many minutes for him, that he'll be able to get it, understand it, and move forward. And God has granted, has answered that prayer.
I think that's so important. One, that I want to go back a little bit and just highlight the fact that you're honest and authentic about the fact that we are taught this whole balancing act. And the reality is you might not ever find this full balance or where everything is even, but prioritizing and making sure that you are constantly putting in check what matters the most and resetting or realigning. One of the things that I do value about your leadership is, one, authenticity, but then two, just the ability to understand the team that you're leading, right? So one thing that is pretty awesome is, sometimes you have leaders that can be a little egotistical or can be very selfish with titles and roles and positions and opportunities. And one thing that I've learned just underneath your leadership is the power of letting people dwell well in what they're called and purpose to do, and not being intimidated by things like that, but welcoming it. And so Word of Life has been this really this nucleus or this place where people can come and grow underneath the ministry, but it also helps them grow outside of the ministry and really prepare for other things outside of the church. So my question is, saying all that to say, how did you get to that place where you were open to change and open to younger leadership and just keeping your mind fresh and open to new things? Because we don't always see that.
I laugh because I laugh because when you said open to new things, I can remember when the media team came and said, "Hey, look, we want to go on Facebook," and I said, "Man, in no way we going on Facebook, because I don't want people staying at home looking at us and there's nobody in here." And lo and behold, 5 years after we went on Facebook, the reason why we're able to sustain and do great things is because this great group of smart people said, "Hey, we need to get out there and get on Facebook and do some things differently." So look, I can be very stubborn. I can be very stubborn, and at the same time, if you don't let people exercise the great gifts that they have, why are they here? Why you want them to take their ideas and implement them, and to fall sometimes and get up and to learn from their setbacks. And that's the joy of leadership, is letting and allowing people to see people grow, but to grow with their concepts, their ideas that fit into this overall grand scheme of things that you're trying to get to. There's always more than one way to get to a destination. And as long as we get to the destination, all these other ideas and things are great. Let's just get there and get there. The one thing that I sometimes push too hard on is, let's get there before the time that we're supposed to get there. So let's move fast, but bring your ideas to the table. And I just have, I don't know where I got that from. I learned a lot through General Motors, a whole lot. So, all the different things, but it's all those different experiences. It's like David, God gave him all these different experiences so that when he got in position, he would be able to use them. And I believe it's the same thing with me. I had a lot of different experiences, and I never wanted to be this, this big guy on the block and do it my way kind of thing. I just always wanted people to, from being captain on basketball teams and and things like that. Just love leadership. I'm a student of leadership, and leadership is really working through people and using your influence in order to accomplish a great goal or task that is before you. But more than that, it's developing the people around you to grow and mature and so that they can achieve the objectives that they have personally and become great leaders themselves. I look at you and you know, I see the growth in Ebony from the first time that we sat down and talked. I look at Adrian from, you know, when we first sat down and talked, and now I just look at this. This is what makes my life great. I just say, woo, Lord, look at what you're doing with these great people. And to see that growth for me is the most rewarding thing. You don't grow unless you implement and exhibit and illustrate the ideas that God has placed in you.
I can honestly say, like, one very quick story. One, you have talked me off of so many ledges, and you have saved some people's lives from being changed. Okay? from my life being changed to other you. Listen, and I think it's important to remember that, because there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that, you know, a pastor does for his parishioners.
Yeah,
there are endless things that you do. I know Adrian has a question to ask, but really quickly, like, as you think about Word of Life and what we've accomplished over the past 14 or so years, like, what are some of the most monumental takeaways that you have, like, during this time? But I want to know, like, funny. I want to know, like, the real stuff. I also want to know, like, if you could do a few things different. Like, I want to just give us some insight, like, over these past years.
Yeah, and Ebony, that was actually going to be my question, to be honest with you.
What would I do differently?
What would you do differently? What's something crazy or funny or just off the wall that happened? Like, just give us the good stuff. Let us in on the conversation.
I have so many funny things, but one of the funny things that transpired, we were at Cummings School, and you know, we had taken possession of the building, so to speak. So it was all Word of Life that was in the building, and we would hold ministry meetings on Sunday morning, and it was only myself and JT and someone else in this room, and it was a little room, and we were in there talking, and a mouse shot out the corner, and JT said, "Ah, it's green," and I said, "Man, I thought JT was in the room." That did not sound. That sound like a soprano. I mean, and he ran out. He was. Oh my goodness! I'll never forget that. Look, that was one of the funniest things. But I've had so many funny things. Another thing that happened to me is one time we lived in Perrysburg and Ohio. Mm-hmm. And so we would travel on Sunday morning and on Tuesday from Perrysburg to Flint and then back to Perrysburg. And one morning, Sunday morning, I don't know if it was on the way to or right before we left Perrysburg or Sophia had done something. She boiled an egg, and I, cracked the egg and put it in, and I burned my lips. It burned my lips. And I came to church, and Michelle Hill and her sister Courtney nicknamed me Hot Lips. And because I had this big sore on my lips. I mean, there's so many just fun things like that. I could go on and on and on. I hurt myself. I tore playing dodgeball, trying to hit somebody and sprain my knee. But there's just been so many great things. What I've learned in terms of just growth and having a growth mindset is that, first of all growth is not good growth. And we know that from cancer. Cells grow, that's not good growth. And we sometimes in Christendom want growth. We want to be big, we want to be large. And I settled in and said to God spoke to me through the Spirit of the Lord, said, hey, look, be a small giant, and do community work and be out there in community and help people and bless them with a little bit that you have and allow that to go forward. And that is what has sprung us to do so many things and very, small things that have turned to be big things and have blessed so many people, from coat drive or wardrobe drives to food distribution to Candy Mountain to all of these things that we have done. And to me, that's what is most important, is to recognize that you can be a small giant and make an impact for God where you are. And to understand that, the most important growth is spiritual growth. And so that is what I've learned. Sophia said, when we first started, the first Sunday, there were about 400 people, 400 people in the auditorium. And we were like, woo, yes, and really, really, really excited. And that next Sunday we came and it was 40 people. And Lord, know I wanted to cry. And Lord, know I wanted that tear to come down.
The Lord said, let me keep him humble. Let me humble him real quick.
And he kept me humble. And so I tell you, my wife gave me just a tremendous, we were on our way home. She said, look, we're going to grow it brick, just like they build a building, brick by brick. We'll do it person by person. And that's what God wants us to do. And that's what we have tried to do, is build it person by person, instill into the individuals that he has sent to Word of Life so that we can, do what our motto says, where the word is alive and lives are changed. We want to change lives, transform, be a transformative agent for God. And I think he has allowed us to do that with having a lot of fun at doing it.
Oh man. Well, Pastor, that this conversation has been really insightful. I thought I knew you well, but I even learned a lot of things that I didn't know in terms of perspective. So, Pastor, to be honest with you, we got to have you back for a part 2. I feel like we're only scratching the tip of an iceberg. So we got to get you back for a part 2.
Well, whenever you guys designate that I can come on and be a part of whatever we're doing, I really appreciate it. You really are great co-host. Did you have training through Oprah or anything?
I have actually. My training actually occurred right after General Hospital because my mom watched the stories and it went straight into Oprah.
Well, you took good notes. You took good notes. So we expect you to do great things through this podcast. We're excited about it. Look, we're in our 14th year at Word of Life, and this is our first podcast, to the degree that there will be many, 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 many more, well beyond the time that I'm at Word of Life. And we expect great and wonderful things to transpire. I mean, over the next 50 years, and we'll see what happens.
I don't like when you say that.
I know how to get Ebony going. So, no, you guys did a wonderful job. Thank you for having me. And I hope that somebody gets something from what I've said tonight.
We appreciate you blessing the Good Life podcast. Huh?
Yeah. Especially as our first guest. That's
Yeah.
huge.
I would have been upset, man. Look, if y'all would have had somebody on besides me, I would have been upset. So,
We know.
Hey, y'all got it right. You got it right. So I'm not gonna be as tough on Ebony tonight when I talk to her about what I got to talk to her about. So she's gonna get a pass.
Well, thank you so much for your grace.
Yeah, you're welcome. God bless you. We love you.
All right, Pastor, thanks again. And again, that is our first podcast. We're looking forward to the next one. And again, Pastor, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you. God bless.
All right, God bless.